What's up, guys, and welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. Today we're taking a look at the making of my latest track. This is Kinetic, co-produced by Kyla, and I know this is a big room track, and that big room is very much past its prime, but it is a very fun genre to produce, and I think there are some production tips in here that you'll be able to use in whatever genre, not just big room. So let's jump right in. I'm going to play the drop and build it up piece by piece, and then go into some individual elements. So here we go. Let's start with that. So start off with a kick. Very simple kick, a little bit of EQ on it, minimal processing. That's really the majority of the first part of the drop. So let me go into the main element. Got a decent amount of swing on that, and also LFO tool pumping it. So let me take that off. And then I have layered in there the same element but an octave up, and EQ'd a bit differently, some low end rolled off, and a bit of high end rolled off as well. So you put them together. It's an element that's like, it's very nearly complete, but doesn't quite work, doesn't quite cut through without, adds that little extra bit of energy. And got the horn, that's this right here. Then a white noise whoosh. Once again, pumped with LFO tool. And then this little element that comes in here to fill in a bit of empty space. So you got it all together. Very simple. And then as time goes on, we add a bit more. So we got a clap. And then in the most kind of extreme section, we have the addition of the snare part. And so this is pumped a bit, just subtly, to keep the snare out of the way of the kick, so the kind of the punches of the two don't interfere. And then I've got the same amount of swing on this as I do on the main, I guess you could call it a lead. And we got the actual leads, so there's this one. It's a massive preset. And then we got this, and this is playing the exact same rhythm as the main element. And then I also have this little riser. And that is it for the drop. It's not too complicated. Big room doesn't tend to be all that a complicated genre, just a lot of fun to make, and hopefully a lot of fun to listen to. So let's go into the breakdown, then I want to spend a bit of time on the build and some stuff I did to make that work. So the way we divided up tasks on this, Kyla did the breakdown. He started the track, so he did the melody, wrote the melody, and produced the breakdown, produced part of the build, and then left it up to me to do the drop, and then to mix the whole track, and also did a bit of tweaking to the breakdown as well. So let's jump right in. I'll build it up piece by piece. So let's start off with this kind of main element. So that's the reason that all these are audio stems, is because he did this all bounced it down and then fired the files my way, and then I stuck them in here, and that's how I normally do collaborations. So we got layered with piano, kind of a higher, more shimmery supersaw. It's got that nice little pitchy effect on it. Piano fills it out a bit, and then got this playing the main melody. So get the bass. Actually, I've used this bass before. I used it in Wake Up, and I'm going to be using it in a track coming next week as well. So we got that. And then finally the ARP. And a clap. That same clap comes back later on in the drop. So the big key with this was to make sure that every part in here has a very defined purpose. The temptation is to layer a metric crap ton of supersaws, and that ends up in just kind of a very muddled, all over the place mix. And so this, to keep it clear and focused, you have each element serve a very specific purpose. So this one playing the main melody, this one adding some high end and some ambience, this one doing most of the work, the piano, add some mids, fill it out a bit, and a bit of attack as well, the ARP being ARPy, and then finally the bass is doing a lot of work to bring a lot of the power. And then as we transition into the build, I have some automation on some of the stuff to kind of phase it out a bit. So some of this stuff is just straight volume automation, like this. It's just a crossfade. So that the ARP can kind of take over, because that's one of the main elements in the build. I also have, the other reason to have the crossfade here is so they get out of the way of the drums that come in. So we got riser, ton of tracks here. And we go into the build. So the key with the build, and this is one thing I really want to talk about a bit, the key with the build was to have a smooth transition between the supersaw melodic part and the bassy electro-y part, and to have those two sound like they belong on the same song. And so to do that, I have to basically transition, kind of phase elements in the breakdown out, and then phase elements from the drop in, and then go into the drop. So what I did was I let the arpeggio be the main element to start off the build. So in solo, just have it there playing one little section to build tension. Now I have both high and low cut filter automation to bring it up in energy and then make it just kind of fade away, but in a way that brings up the energy level as it gets more kind of shrill. So that's the main thing, providing the transition between the breakdown and the build. And then the other thing is a few little supersaws playing chords. So let me find those over here. So you can hear how it drops in a chord, so you have this resolution to the supersaws, so going into the build feels much more natural. So it goes like that, and I also have it here. And then finally, this super saw element right here. Once again, just playing that one chord. And I have a low cut filter to automate this out over time. So I'm using elements from the breakdown to bring us into the build. And then of course we've got the snare, riser, so as that really goes up in pitch, I'm slowly moving the breakdown elements out of the way of the riser, basically. And then also the snare, as time goes on, the snare has the low cut filter go up as well. And a little bit of a high cut coming in as well, so it gets all thin and muffled, and then when the drop comes in, it's all the more powerful because you created that contrast. You get just momentarily used to hearing something that's a little bit cruddy sounding, and then you get the nice full frequency spectrum back with the drop. So it doesn't have to be way louder, but it still feels more powerful. And then finally, we actually bring drop elements in at this point. And then you've got the snares that bring you into the drop. So I'm bringing that element in early. You can barely hear it at first, and it slowly makes itself more and more present. And it's only playing that very simple little offbeat, and then it gets more complex. So it doesn't completely like spoil the drop, but it gives you an idea of what's coming, so the song feels consistent. And it doesn't feel too sudden. And as the snares get faster, I go out of the little swing heavy part back into the offbeat. And I also have the kick coming in as well. First of all, it starts off basically inaudible. And I bring in never all of the bass because I want to save the bass for the actual drop itself. But I have a little bit just to tease, hey, there's going to be some bassy kicks here. Once again, so it transitions nicely. And then finally, the horns. So finally we get the build all together. Hear the riser coming in, and the ARP going away. The drop elements are more obvious now. And of course, gotta have the Prida snare. Because why not? And those are the main elements of the track that I wanted to show you guys, so hopefully you found those helpful, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for both more making of videos and more electronic music. I'm Gabe, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.